This is the podcast to improve your English listening skills while learning something new in English. Every episode, we bring you interesting topics in simple and clear English, so you can listen, learn, and grow. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going way beyond that same old stroke prevention advice I think we've all heard before. Eat your vegetables, get some exercise, yada, yada, yada. We're going to explore stroke prevention, but through a very unique lens. We have this Indonesian audio file called Mencegah Stroke, which translates to preventing stroke.
Oh, wow. Exploring health information from a different culture like that can offer such a fresh perspective.
I know, right? It's not every day we're getting stroke prevention tips from Indonesia. But before we dive into all the specifics, let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. What exactly is a stroke? The audio really emphasizes how serious this is by talking about what happens to your brain cells during a stroke.
Yeah, it paints a pretty vivid picture. A stroke happens when the blood supply to a part of your brain is cut off or is significantly reduced. And this basically starves those brain cells of oxygen and those vital nutrients. It's like a power outage for a section of your brain, and unfortunately the damage can be permanent.
And there are a few different ways that this power outage can happen, right? I think the audio breaks it down into like 3 main types of stroke.
Yeah, precisely. So the most common type is called an ischemic stroke. This is where a blood clot forms, often in an artery that's already narrowed, and it completely blocks blood flow to a part of the brain. Then there's what's called a hemorrhagic stroke, which is a little more dramatic. This is where a blood vessel in the brain actually bursts, causing bleeding and damaging that surrounding brain tissue.
Oh, so it's like a plumbing problem in your brain, but with much higher stakes.
Yeah.
And I think the audio also mentioned a third type too, right? Something about a mini stroke.
Yes, that's a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. It's basically like a temporary blockage. The symptoms come on really suddenly, but then they resolve pretty quickly, usually within 24 hours. But although the symptoms are temporary, it's still a serious warning sign that something's not right. And they're often a precursor to a full-blown stroke.
So even a mini stroke is not something to ignore. It's like your body's trying to send you a very important message.
Exactly. It's a wake-up call to pay attention to your health and take steps to prevent something much more serious from happening.
Okay, so we've got the what of stroke covered. Now let's dive into the why. Why do strokes happen? The audio goes beyond just age as a risk factor and lists out a whole bunch of things that can increase your chances of having a stroke.
It's true. While age is definitely a factor, there's this whole constellation of other things that can contribute to your stroke risk, and some of them might actually surprise you.
Hit me with the list. What are we talking about here?
Well, the audio lists hypertension, or high blood pressure, as a major culprit. Then you've got diabetes, smoking, obesity, a diet that's very heavy in processed foods and unhealthy fats, a lack of physical activity, excessive alcohol consumption, and of course, a family history of stroke.
Wow, that's quite a list. I'm curious though, why does the audio seem to put so much emphasis on hypertension?
That's a great question. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer because it can actually damage your blood vessels for years without you even knowing it. And over time, this damage makes your arteries more susceptible to those blockages and ruptures that we talked about earlier.
So it's like the foundation for a lot of these other risk factors.
Precisely. It's like a key piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding stroke risk.
All right, so we know what a stroke is and what puts us at risk. But what can we actually do about it? This is where I think the Indonesian audio gets really interesting. It lays out 7 very concrete steps that you can take to reduce your risk.
Yeah, let's unpack those 7 steps because they really do provide this practical roadmap to protecting your brain health.
Okay, lead the way. I'm ready to get proactive about this.
Yeah.
So what's the first step on this Indonesian stroke prevention journey?
Well, the audio starts with the foundation of good health, adopting a healthy lifestyle. And it actually gets quite specific about what that entails.
Oh, it's more than just eat your vegetables.
Oh, definitely. It's about maintaining a healthy weight, choosing a balanced diet with lots of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains while limiting those processed foods, sugary drinks, and unhealthy fats. It also emphasizes regular physical activity, encouraging at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week.
I bet reducing salt intake is in there too, right?
You know it. Reducing sodium is a key part of managing that blood pressure. They even talk about swapping out those salty snacks for things like unsalted nuts and seeds. It's all about making these small, sustainable changes that can really add up over time.
So no more midnight trips to the vending machine for me. Got it.
Well, maybe just try swapping out that bag of chips for a handful of almonds.
Okay. I'll work on it. So what's step number 2 on this Indonesian stroke prevention plan?
Well, step number 2 is no surprise here. It's keeping a close eye on your blood pressure. The audio really emphasizes that hypertension is a major risk factor, and knowing your numbers is key.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how often should you actually check your blood pressure? Is it like a once a year thing at your annual physical, or should we be checking more often than that?
Well, the audio suggests regular monitoring, and I completely agree. If you're at increased risk, maybe because of family history or other health conditions, it's really worth investing in a home blood pressure monitor and checking it regularly, even daily. But even if you consider yourself healthy, getting it checked at least every few months is a really good idea.
Okay, noted. Checking my blood pressure is officially on my to-do list. What's next on our Indonesian stroke prevention checklist?
So step number 3 focuses on managing any other health conditions you might have, especially things like diabetes and heart disease.
Okay, I can definitely see how those would be connected to stroke risk, but how exactly does managing those conditions help prevent a stroke?
Well, think of it this way. Both diabetes and heart disease can damage your blood vessels over time, making them much more prone to those blockages and weakenings that can lead to a stroke. So by keeping your blood sugar and cholesterol levels in check, you're essentially protecting those blood vessels and you're reducing your overall risk.
So it's all connected.
Exactly. It's like this domino effect. Taking care of one aspect of your health can have this really positive ripple effect on other areas, including brain health.
All right, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
So what's step number 4?
This one's pretty straightforward. Quit smoking.
Yeah, no arguments there. Smoking is bad for you, period.
Yeah.
But how exactly does it increase stroke risk?
So smoking damages your blood vessels in a few ways. First, it makes your blood more likely to clot, which increases your risk for an ischemic stroke. Second, it raises your blood pressure, which just adds further stress to those already vulnerable blood vessels. And third, it lowers the amount of oxygen that your blood can carry, which essentially deprives your brain of the fuel it needs to function properly.
So it's like a triple whammy of bad news for your brain.
Yeah, it is, and it's never too late to quit. The benefits of quitting smoking start almost immediately. Your blood pressure and your heart rate go down, and your circulation improves.
So step 4 is all about kicking that bad habit to the curb. What's next?
All right, step 5 is all about monitoring your cholesterol levels.
Okay, I know high cholesterol is bad, but I'm a little fuzzy on the specifics. How exactly does it contribute to stroke risk?
Well, high cholesterol, specifically what's called the bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, can build up plaque in your arteries. It's like gunk clogging up your pipes, making it harder for blood to flow through. And just like a clogged pipe can burst, a plaque-filled artery can rupture, and that can lead to a hemorrhagic stroke.
So it's not just about heart health, it's about brain health too.
Precisely. High cholesterol is a risk factor for both heart disease and stroke. And the good news is that it's often manageable through lifestyle changes and, if needed, medication.
Okay. What about step 6? What Indonesian audio wisdom do we have there?
Step 6 is all about minimizing your alcohol consumption.
Okay. This one might be a tough one for some people. You know, I know a lot of people who enjoy a glass of wine or a beer at the end of the day.
Right. But the key here is moderation. The audio isn't saying that you can never have a drink, but it's really emphasizing that excessive alcohol consumption can raise your blood pressure and contribute to other risk factors like obesity and heart disease, all of which increase your stroke risk.
So it's about finding that balance. Enjoy a drink now and then if you like, but don't overdo it.
Exactly. It's all about making choices that support your long-term health.
All right, we're down to the final step. What's the grand finale of our Indonesian stroke prevention journey?
Step 7 is a really simple one, but it's a crucial one. Consult a doctor.
Yeah, I imagine that's especially important for people who might be at higher risk, right?
Absolutely. If you have a family history of stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure, or any of those other risk factors that we've talked about, it's super important to have regular checkups with your doctor. They can assess your individual risk, they can offer personalized advice, and recommend preventative measures that are tailored to your specific needs.
It's like having a personalized stroke prevention coach right there in your corner.
Exactly. They can help you stay on track and make sure you're doing everything you can to protect that brain health.
You know, it's amazing how much practical advice we've gotten just from this single Indonesian audio file.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good reminder that those fundamentals of good health often transcend cultural boundaries.
Yeah, and it's pretty empowering to know that we have so much control over our own health destinies.
Precisely. We're not just passive bystanders, you know. We can actively make choices that reduce our risk and protect our brains.
But even with all this preventative action, I can't help but wonder, what happens if someone does have a stroke? What does the road to recovery look like? And it's a question that kind of lingers in the back of my mind, you know. What happens when prevention isn't enough? What's that journey back from a stroke like?
That's a really important question. And I think thankfully one with some really hopeful answers. While a stroke is undoubtedly a life-altering event, the brain is remarkably resilient. It really has this amazing capacity for healing and rewiring itself. Recovery is going to look different for everyone, of course, depending on the severity of the stroke and the location of the stroke.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of recovery process.
No, not at all. But there are some incredible resources and support systems that are available to help people navigate those challenges that come with stroke recovery.
Like what kinds of resources? What are we talking about here?
Well, there's rehabilitation, which can include things like physical therapy to regain strength and coordination. You have speech therapy to address any communication challenges, and then occupational therapy, which can help people relearn those everyday tasks.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach to address all these different aspects of recovery.
Exactly. It's really all about helping people regain as much independence and quality of life as possible. And it's not just professional help either. Support groups can play a really vital role too, providing that space for stroke survivors and their families to connect with others who really understand what they're going through.
Yes, that sense of community, knowing you're not alone in this journey.
Precisely. And, we can't forget about those incredible advancements in assistive technologies. There are all these devices and tools that can really help people with things like mobility, communication, and daily living tasks, enabling them to live more independently and just engage more fully in their lives.
So it's almost like this whole new world of possibilities opens up through these technologies.
It really is. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there's hope and there's help. There's this whole community out there dedicated to supporting stroke survivors on their path to recovery.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We started with a simple Indonesian audio file, and it's taken us on this incredible journey of exploring stroke prevention, those risk factors, and even that recovery process.
It's pretty amazing how a single source of information can spark so much curiosity and lead to such a rich discussion.
And it all circles back to that fundamental message, right? Knowledge is power. The more we understand about stroke, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves and to support others.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. So to our listeners, we encourage you to take this knowledge and just run with it. Make those healthy choices, connect with your doctor, and if you or someone you know is impacted by stroke, just remember that there is hope and there is help available.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.